Hello, I'm JW. Today we're going to be rewiring some table lamps, and here is one of them. It's a sort of ceramic base, and problem with these is not the fact they don't work, it's just that the wiring on these and the plugs as well is extremely old and certainly not compliant with anything that would be used remotely recently these days. So actually just put new flex on these and new plugs as well, and hopefully reuse the old switch. So let's have a closer look and see what we're going to be doing. So here's one of them. They're both basically the same, just slightly different holders on them. This is a kind of ceramic material here, plastic holder, so it's only going to be a 2-core flex, and we're going to be replacing it with 2-core. And these are bayonet, as pretty much standard deal in the UK, so there they are. Now the main problem with these is the flex, and we can see the flex here. It's this strange twin stuff, single insulation, and certainly not really rated for 230 volt use, and it's presumably been on there a very long time. Looking at the state of it, just go straight in the hole in the bottom there. I've got a little inline switch here, flame flex just goes straight in and out, so let's see if we can reuse that. And the other problem here is the plug. Now there's the flex going in. This is a Crabtree plug on this one. Main problem here is the pins are unsleeved. You'll see a certain amount of corrosion on those for whatever reason. Although these are only going to be dangerous if you sort of put your fingers around and plug it in like that. The reality is that new plugs need to have sleeved pins, so we'll be changing the plug on this one as well. The other one's pretty much the same deal. Again, they've got that little inline switch there, which does screw together, which again gives you an idea of how old these are, because the new ones just snap together generally one time only. Same weird twin flat flex there, no proper covering on that. And then the plug on this one is this yellowed item. This is an ever ready thing, again probably the same sort of era, unsleeved pin, so we're talking mid 80s and earlier, so considerable age to these. And again it's got that awful almost looks like bell wire stuff going in there. Now I'm not entirely sure whether this was even compliant at the time, because even in the 1970s and 80s this kind of weird flex wasn't really the best thing to be using. So let's get these things apart and then let's see what's going on inside. So we'll just get rid of this lamp here. This is some 7-watt compact fluorescent affair, not really the best of choices these days, but that's what it came with. Now we're going to have to remove this felt from the base here so we can get inside, so just peel away at it at the edge here. And then let's see what we can find within. Now these are made of some sort of plastery type material, but nevertheless seem to come off there fairly easily. Yeah, they look like plaster, just also been cast to look like a ceramic with a filler over the top there. We can see there the flex literally just shoved up the back in a hole, so certainly not the best arrangement there. Now I think we'll just cut that off and just leave it with that piece. Just actually have a look at this and see how it actually is internally, because bell wires generally looks like this, and it's single core. This may or may not be. So okay, so this is actually stranded inside, so it was probably intended for this use originally, but as you can see it's just a single insulation. There's no outer sheath or anything on that, so we'll definitely be getting rid of that. So just cut off the rest of this here. This plug will be going as well, but we'll keep that around just in case for museum purposes. Now usually these have an access in the bottom where you can see the nut, like a rod that goes all the way through, but these obviously don't have that, so let's just try unscrewing it. And this is why I need to take the base off first, because otherwise that wire will be all twisting up in a right old mess. So let's take the top off of that one. Okay, so what we've got here then is this, well, that would have been a rubber washer at one time, and this thing here has just actually been set into the plaster itself there, and then the holder just screws on, so that's perfectly fine. Someone's already done a twisting number on that before, and this holder should unscrew, so we should be able to get in there fairly readily. Yeah, there we go. So no problem there. We're just going to put the new flex onto those terminals there. These have still got a decent spring in them. It's also the kind where it springs through the back as well, which again shows the age of it. But again, no real problem with that. It's all intact there. Say WG, which is Ward and Goldstone, which the manufacturer, which doesn't really exist anymore. So we'll get rid of that, and then we'll see about fitting in the new holder on that one. This is the other one. This has another compact fluorescent in it. This is a 14 watt, which seems rather excessive for a side lamp, because that's probably equivalent to about 100 watts of the other variety. And, again, for compact fluorescent, not really the best choice these days. So same flex here, so we'll just cut that off of there. We shall keep the switch, we may be able to reuse that. And again, museum purposes for the plug, but certainly not going to be using it again on this item. Now, as before, we're going to have to just pry off this base here, which shouldn't be too much trouble. We'll be putting a new piece of felt on this afterwards, because this one is obviously going to be rather damaged and destroyed. This seems to be rather well stuck compared to the other one. Yeah, there it goes. So some remains of ancient glue there. And again, it's the same deal. They're fairly crudely made, these. It's just some sort of plastery stuff with a glaze placed over the top. So this one has a fairly lot of other features on it. It's got this slide bar switch here, as well as the inline switch. Decent spring on the plungers still. Also has this hole where you can see live parts exposed within, so we have to deal with that, and a little screw on the side. So hopefully this will unscrew just as the other one did. And again, the end flaps around. No twisting deals on that one. And again, we should be able to remove the top there. That's just the shade ring. Let's see what we've got in there. That's reasonable. And this has a little screw on the side, which presumably is a locking thing to secure that together. And again, it's going to be the same deal there, just the two wires going in to the two terminals inside. So I'll just loosen this screw on the side. Fairly unusual design, you don't see these very often. Yeah, and that just then allows that to unscrew. And there's the two terminals in the base there. Now, the next thing are these switches, which do still work. They're just press on and off versions. So let's see if we can hopefully reuse these. Mainly because I don't have any white switches in stock, I've only got black ones. So let's see what we've got here. Again, these are old because most new switches don't screw together, they just snap together, certainly on manufactured items you would purchase. So pretty straightforward then, it's just the two halves of the base like that, and then the switch there is just a separate module with the two terminals either end, one there, one here, made in Italy, and then the other pieces they just carry it through there, so that'll be hopefully the neutral, although who knows, certainly should have been. And then just in the line there, just breaks that to turn the thing on and off. So just the new components then, got some white flex here. This is just a 2-core, because obviously there's no earth connection here, it's all plastic, so 2-core fine for that. And of course this is insulated there with brown and blue, and of course has the outer white sheathing as well. And of course we need some new plugs, so got a couple of plugs here. These are just normal BS1363s. These actually come supplied with a 3-amp fuse in already, rather than having to throw fuses away and replace them with others. So if you didn't know, not all plugs come with 30-amp fuses in. And of course we've got 2 plugs there, obviously one for each. Now the first question is, does this round flex, which is obviously a fair bit bigger than what we had before, fit in this hole? And the answer is not particularly well. However, this can be rectified. Here is a drill bit, and we're not going to put this in a drill, we're just going to use fingers only. Just put that in there, and we're just going to work that in there. So this is only a soft plaster, so we just work that through there. We don't want to use a power drill here, because of course that would put a lot of stress on this, could easily bust out the entire base. So just work that through there, just gradually enlarge the hole to a more sensible size. Dust there, hopefully that's not asbestos, and now the flex will fit through easily. Now for the reassembly, I've just cut a reasonable length of the flex here and attached it to the bottom of the lamp holder. It's got one of these bars where the 2 conductors sort of go underneath, so it gives a certain amount of retention there. Now this piece here is what basically goes on the bottom there, so we can actually thread this on the outside here. Just make sure it's obviously level on the thread there. So that just tightens up onto the base. And then for this piece, obviously that thread there goes onto that, so we need to pass this through the middle here, and we'll just take it straight through the bottom rather than just trying to thread it around that corner there, so it just comes straight through. Of course, when this is tightened up, this flex will need to be free to rotate, otherwise it will just end up in a horrible twisted mess inside. So there's the lamp there, flex just loose on the bottom, and then just a matter of lining that up on there. And if we rotate the actual ceramic rather than the lamp holder, obviously we don't get the flex all twisted up and destroyed inside. So just rotate that until it's reasonably tight. Obviously we don't have to sort of graunch down on it with 10 tons of force or anything, but just so it's there. And then the other piece here, just the shade ring, which obviously just goes on to secure the lampshade, which we don't actually have here. So that's the top half finished. Now for the bottom we just need to thread this through the hole there. So that just pokes through the outside. And you could put a little piece in here to secure the flex so it wouldn't actually be pulled through. However, this is quite a tight fit here, plus we've got the thing on the top, so the chances of this being pulled out are slim to none. And what we can also do is when we put the felt on the base, that will actually put some glue here to just fix it into that channel in the plaster there. But as you can see, it's a pretty tight fit in there, so it's not going to be a problem in terms of things sort of just pulling out and getting in the way. So it fits in there pretty well. It's not going to sort of rip out or anything. So that is that one. Now the other one, which is this here, has a switch on it which we don't really need, and more unhelpfully it's got this big hole in the side which has been drilled out for flex to go in the side rather than through the base. So the problem with that is that we've got these fairly large terminals here. When that's over the top, the terminals are actually visible through there, so not particularly desirable. So as we don't need the switch either, what we'll do is to not use that one. What we use is a new one, which of course does not have a switch and doesn't have a big hole in the bottom either. Pretty much the same idea, just the base there, the two terminals. Note that they're quite a lot more enclosed than on the more modern versions, and it's obviously a bayonet in the top there with the shade ring as well. And these threads are pretty much standard, so these will actually just fit onto the top of that, no problem whatsoever. So we just got it on the base there, and as before we'll just pass the whole length of the flex through the base there. I'm going to straight out the bottom. And then that will thread on here, but again we'll rotate the ceramic piece and not this, because obviously that will then twist the flex, but if we just hold that, that keeps the flex basically in one place, avoids obviously having it all twisted up and destroyed. So let's tighten that down onto the base there, and again that one is now done. Now the next thing is the switches. We're going to reuse the older switch here. It's just basically two plastic parts there, screws fixing it together, and then the switch just sits in the middle, something like that. So we don't want to actually cut through this, because obviously that would then mean we've got two ends to connect. We've only got a single switch. So as we had previously on this, we just need to remove some of the outer white insulation, leave the neutral intact, the blue conductor, that will just pass straight through, and then just cut the line, and then just obviously connect it into the two terminals of the switch, and then the lid will go on. And the actual flex grip arrangement on this is just the two ends there, which that will go in there, and then when the other one is over the top, that will actually clamp down onto that and secure it in position. So that's the basic arrangement for the switch there. So just remove some of the insulation, neutral goes through without any break in it at all, so I didn't cut that one, and then the line just goes to the two terminals on either side of the switch. So this is firmly connected. When the switch is on, it just connects those together so the light works, and when it's off it's just breaking that single conductor there, so the light turns off. So that's the switch attached on that one. Again, the flex just gripped by the casing of that, so press on and off, and then of course just a plug on the end there. There's no connection to the earth on these, it's just the line and neutral. Of Of course there's no metallic parts on this to connect to, but of course still the 3-pin plugs. All plugs in the UK are of that type, and you need the other earth pin there to open the shutters for the other two on most outlets. So that's that one, and of course the other one here is exactly the same, so no difference with that one. So the only thing left is just to put a bit of felt or something on the bottom here, and those will be completed. And for the base we'll just put some of this purple felt, which probably looks blue on the camera due to various problems with lighting in this area, but we'll just cut a piece roughly the size that we want, and that will do. As I said before, put a bit of glue on the flex there just to basically glue it into the plaster on the bottom there. And we'll just spray this with some spray adhesive here. This is a permanent one. And I will spray a bit on the bottom there just to secure that flex into the plaster there. Coat both the surfaces there. This only takes a few seconds to actually dry, and then just press that down onto the fabric there. Also we'll do the same with the other one, and then when that's dry, which will only be a few moments, we'll just trim around with the scissors so that we're nice and level. And there we have the finished felt on the base there, so it just stands there without scratching the surface. So that's it for this video. Until next time, thanks for watching.